Is it the adventure in his spirit? Is it the strength of his will? Well, luckily, it's none of those things, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to speak to you about any of them, right? Because I know a lot of you tough men are sitting there going, you can't tell me how to be a man, right? And you're probably correct on some fronts. However, I was watching a man's movie this week, and you can tell it was a man's movie because it had Jason Statham in it. He doesn't make girly movies, right? And the whole premise of the movie was that he was the new guy. He was the new guy, and his job was actually to drive the money trucks to banks, right? And so it was a very high risk job, and he was the new guy, and everyone was teasing him, and that's just the culture that it was in. They were all tough guys. But then, partway through the movie, the truck with all the money in it got attacked. And all the guys that were the real tough guys, they were just trying to get out of there. They were trying to drive away quickly. They were stressing out. They were screaming at the top of their lungs. And this dude was like, what are you doing? And he's like, just drive the truck towards him and I'll sort it out, right? And so what makes a real man? I've been thinking about this, and it actually came out of as I was teaching the kids about the fruits of the Spirit. And that is that it's what a man is under pressure. Who are you under pressure? Because none of it counts until you're under pressure. So, we've all felt like this sometimes, right? If you're an adult, if you've started to adult, you've all felt like this at some stage when people are like, man, all these people need different things off you, yeah? So, I want to tell you about this guy. So, we inherently know because of movies that we watch as men, the type of movies we like to go watch, but also the awards that get given out, right? The awards that get given out to men, that we know that a real man has to show who he is under pressure. And so in every action movie, it's not an action movie if he's not somehow under pressure at the start of the movie, right? And it appeals to, the reason these movies are so popular, because it actually appeals to something deep inside of us. Because we know that that's what really matters. So if it's on the screen or in real life, under pressure is where we get to see the real you, the real man, yeah? And so this guy's name is Cole Carpenter, and he got one of those medals that I was talking about. He got the biggest medal, actually, that you can get. In America, they get given out very, very rarely. I think he was the first guy in a long time to get the Medal of Honor, okay? And so, okay, yeah. So, when was that? Yeah, like I said, for a long time. Anyway, before I was born. Anyway, so he got the Medal of Honor, and so the reason he did that is because he performed under pressure. So this guy, he actually didn't remember what happened. And so I watched a clip, and it was on a talk show, and the guy asked him what happened, and he had to start by saying, by all records and by eyewitness accounts, because he didn't remember anything. He didn't remember. It was all, obviously the body was in trauma. But what he said is, by eyewitness accounts, people that saw what happened, is him, and it's funny because he when it happened he was 23, and he said, me and one of the junior soldiers, right? So he was the guy in charge at 23. We're on top of a small building on a roof, and they were the lookouts, and there was gunfire coming closer and closer, and all of a sudden a grenade got thrown onto the roof, and he said, by eyewitness accounts, I pushed the other guy out of the way and jumped on the grenade. And so this has actually happened in a movie in Captain America to prove how, like, if he had the heart of a soldier, right? But this guy did it in real life. And so the host said, oh, so how many bones did you break? And he goes, the sheet of paper just said countless. And he goes, I could count them on this arm. I broke 27 bones in this arm. And so basically most of the bones in his body were broken. He lost most of his face. He lost just about all of his teeth. And so he's very thankful because that's how he looks now. They've done a great job with the medical team in the army. But he actually died and they brought him back 3 times. And so, and the only thing he remembers is the warm feeling of like being in a bath or something, but apparently he was told that's because of the extreme and quick blood loss. And so he was asked, why you do it? And he said, I'd hope that it was partly me, but also this is what we do. This is what we do, is what we get trained so when we're under pressure, we look after our junior soldiers. So he just did it. And so what makes a real man? It's someone who can perform under pressure. Not just perform, but the real you comes out when you're squeezed, yeah? And that's not just for the men, that's for all of us. All of us, it's when we're squeezed, the real you comes out. And so, I want to ask you today, more importantly, what makes a man of God? And you know what? It's very similar. And so, this verse in Proverbs says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. So, if you really truly want to be a brother to your friends, if you want to look after your fellow man, it really only counts when there's adversity, doesn't it? Like, it's cool to say, hey, I'm friends with that, but when they are going through a time of pressure, or maybe they've made a mistake, or when you're all under pressure, that's when the true value of brotherhood comes out, yeah? And so James says this, blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. So God actually gives us these promises, and he said, blessed are you when you're under trial. And often when we're in the moment of trial, we sort of look around, and when the pressure's on us and when the buck stops with you, we think to ourselves, oh man, what are you doing, God? But the Bible's always opposite to what we think. And so he's saying, actually, you are blessed if you are under trial. You are blessed if you can persevere through it. And so, you know what? If you want to be blessed, you have to be given the opportunity to persevere through something. Yeah? So if you're going through something right now, flip the switch on your brain and think to yourself, oh, actually, this is not, oh, woe is me, and God, why are you doing this? It's all good to cry out to God. The Bible actually says to do that, and David did that, and he was a warrior, right? It's okay to do that, but also consider it a privilege, because God is counting you as a person that he wants to bless, and he wants you to persevere through it and be a different person at the other end of it. This is one of my favorite passages in the Bible, because I just couldn't quite get my head around this, but these guys that had spent time with Jesus and figured it out. They took his advice, and after calling the apostles in, they flogged them and ordered them not to speak in the name of Jesus, and then released them. So this is the disciples. So they went in on their way from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they had been considered worthy to suffer the shame for his name. Isn't that crazy? Have you ever been suffering and walked out of it and gone, yes, I can't believe that just happened. I've been working my whole life towards that. Right? And I know we laugh, but that's what they were doing. They were like, yes, I finally got whipped. Yes. That was literally what they were doing. They were like, Jesus, yes, I'm finally made it, because I'm getting to do what Jesus did. I'm getting to share in his suffering. And every day in the temple and from house to house, they kept right on teaching and preaching Jesus as the Christ. Isn't that awesome? They're like, if you do it again, you're going to get whipped again. And they're like, yes, I can't wait. Let's go. It's a bit hard to get our head around, isn't it, in Australia? It's not so hard to get your head around if you live in other countries, because this still happens. And there's still people that rejoice in suffering. Still people that do it. But what I want to say to you is that very quickly our country is changing. And soon you might have to be this person. And you know what? Last weekend, one of our ACC churches got burnt down, and they found that it was an arsonist. And so I always tell my kids how blessed we are to live in Australia, and we are. But a time is coming when you're going to have to stand under pressure and you're going to have to be, yes, I am willing to suffer with Christ. I'm willing, even with the threat of death, to keep right on teaching and preaching Jesus as the Christ. And why do we need to do that? Because we have sons and daughters and they need men of God to stand up. You know, that's one of my favourite verses. One of my least favourite verses in the Bible is in Judges, and it starts with, they forgot everything that Joshua and the descendants had done. And so whose fault's that? Well, yes, we often look at the next generation and think, oh, they're so different from us. Why? Whose fault's that? They're your kids. So I don't look at it and go, okay, that generation, they were terrible. It actually says they didn't pass down the stories from their generation. And so I get a lot, as a youth leader and as a kids leader, I get a lot of people saying, oh, it's really hard. And I get it, right? I go into schools and it is hard, right? And yes, it's once they get to a certain age, it's not the responsibility of us. But we need to demonstrate, if we want them to be better, we've got to demonstrate what that looks like. And so we need men of God to do that. And so if you come to me and say, my child is really playing up, I will give you an ear because it's hard, right? And it's not just the teaching. Like it sometimes it's hard, and I get that, right? But there is a certain part that we have to play. And they didn't pass down the stories. And so are you passing down the stories of, like, I remember hearing some things just recently that were awesome that my dad was telling someone. And I was like, oh, I've never heard that before. And it was a really cool story. And we got to sit and I got to hear the stories of when Dad went overseas and saw these miracles, and then miracles happen in his past church and all those sort of things, right? And so you might think that your stories and your things are like, oh, they're not relevant anymore. We want to hear them. We want to know what you've done and what's happening in your life now. What you have in your life it's the gold. That's the stuff. And so don't be hesitant to share it with us and share it with the younger generation. So we need to decide what sort of person we are before the trials happen, not during. Because if you try and decide during, it's too late, right? And so you need to decide before what sort of person you're going to be. And so I want to look at the fruits of the Spirit, because this is where this all came from. And so I want to look at Mark 4. It says, others, like seed sown in rocky places, hear the word and at once receive it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Still others, like seed sown among thorns, hear the word. But the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful. I believe that the men of this church can be fruitful. They can be prosperous, not just in finances, but in life. And so this term, I've been teaching. I really pray about each term and what I'm going to be teaching the kids. And I've decided this term that we're teaching at Kids Club, Kids Church, and at Youth Group, every week we're doing a different fruit of the Spirit. And as I've been teaching them, I realise that every single one doesn't count unless it's under pressure. And so the first one is love. It's easy to love people that are lovely, right? It's easy. It'd be easy to love someone like me, right? Eliza may disagree. It's been a hard slog. So, she wouldn't say it today. It's Father's Day. She's being nice to me. All right. It's easy to love the lovely. But how about the unlovely? How about the people that you really struggle with? That's when love counts. Joy. The thing about joy is you don't even need to explain that, because it inherently is under pressure. if it's not under pressure, it's probably not joy. It might just be happiness. And I'm not saying you can't have joy when things are going good, but it's a lot easier to be happy and things are going well when everything's good. But when it's not good, can you still be joyful? Can you still look at the grateful things, the good things in life, and be grateful for them? Peace. We've been teaching about peace, and this is one of my favourite ones because peace is not... we actually drew a picture of what it would be like in your most peaceful place. And some of the youth group drew different things, like it might have been in their room reading or playing a video game. And there's this one boy that comes along and he just loves fishing, so he just drew himself on a boat with no people. And so it's easy to be peaceful then, but Jesus actually demonstrated to us how to be peaceful in the storm. I challenge the youth, and I want to challenge you today. Can you be the person that walks into a room that's not peaceful and be the peacemaker? Can you walk into the room and make the atmosphere change? God can help you. Patience. Oh, this is the one that I struggle with most. We actually went through, and it was good because we went to Brisbane recently and we were just having a chat about different things. And we actually went around our family and we spoke into each other's lives about what fruit of the Spirit comes easy to you and what you really demonstrate in your life and what's something you can work on. And we all acknowledge that I need some work on patience, right? And I know that. It's all good. And so, yeah. So we all have our ones that we can work on, right? And patience can be hard. But when does it count? It's easy to be patient when things are going good, but can you be patient when you're in a hurry? And that's the big one for me, particularly when we go on holidays, because I like to get to my destination as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And so I see a few ladies tapping their husband's arms. And so I'm like, so I've got to remember that getting to our holiday is not a mission. It's just we're going on holidays and trying to enjoy the journey. So there's different ways that patience can be put under pressure. Kindness. It's easy to pay back kindness with kindness, but can you be kind to those that aren't kind to you? That's why it says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, not do unto others as they have already done to you. Goodness. Can you stand for what's right in the face of persecution? I'm not going to say any more on that, but that's the world that we're going to have to live in. Faithfulness. Can you turn up even when you don't want to? That's one that, and that was the one actually that the kids and Eliza said that I'm pretty good at. I just turn up. And one of my favourite characters from Sesame Street was Super Grover, and his motto was, he shows up, right? And he doesn't always do anything. Actually, he usually makes a mess. And so his superpower is I just turn up. But I tell you what, as a pastor and as a leader, I love people that turn up. If you just turn up, you'll quickly become part of my leadership team. I just need people to turn up. And so please, just faithfulness, I reckon on this list, is the most underrated thing in our society now. Faithfulness is awesome. So thank you to all those people that they just turn up, whether it's for your family or for God. If you turn up to your work every day, faithfulness is awesome. Gentleness. It's easy to be gentle when you're playing with a puppy or with a baby or something. But what about when you're angry and frustrated? What about when someone cut you off on the road? Can you still be gentle then? I've just come back from Brisbane, and I think that I'm way more gentle because I live here. And self-control. Can you have self-control in the face of temptation? That's the big one. Like, it's easy to have self-control when there's nothing around, but when temptation comes, that's what self-control is. Can you be a man of God, or I'm going to say this to everybody, can you be a person of God even when you're under pressure? The Bible says the mouth is the overflow of the heart. I want to say this, your life is actually the overflow of your heart. If you get your heart right, you can still be you when you're squeezed. You won't be rotten. So, I want to finish with this, and then we're going to do something fun today. I want to finish with by encouraging you, because I know that might be a bit hard for you, and I've been a bit rough on you. Okay, but if you're men, you can take it, right? You'll be fine. So, I've been a bit rough on you, but I want to say this to you, is that obviously I've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes, and I haven't always been the person that I've wanted to be. But you can more so be that person when you're squeezing under pressure if you do two things. One, link with your God. Psalm 46:1 says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help. When? In trouble. He wants to be there for you when you are in trouble. Psalm 91:14 says, because he loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. He will call upon me, and I will answer him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. I want to say to some of the men here today that maybe you've been reaching out to God and maybe gone through a really tough time, maybe now or in previous parts of your life, or maybe you might find yourself coming into those times in the future. I want to say that this is God's promise for you, is that when you call upon him, he will answer you in trouble. He will answer you in times of trouble, and he will deliver you. And not only that, this is the coolest bit, right, is that he will not only deliver you, but honor you. And so if you want to be a man of honor, like Cole Carpenter, who got the Medal of Honor, then keep pursuing him through the tough times, and you will find that God will honor you. And that's the best way to find honor, is not to give it to yourself or someone else give it to you, but when God honors you, that's the true form of it, yeah? And the second thing I want to say, so link yourself with God, link yourself with each other. We have some awesome men in this church. And this picture up here is one of our awesome men. I don't know if you can see it that clearly. So what happened was, where is he? Here he is. Awesome. So Michael was here, and my dad was under the pump, right? He had a heap of stuff on. And Michael had a plan for his day. Has anyone ever had a plan for your day? Has anyone ever got to the end and actually achieved that plan? Doesn't happen to me very often. Anyway, he had a plan for his day and had all these things he wanted to do, right? But we actually got a hole in our shade sail out there, and we thought it might have been, it's usually me or the youth that get blamed for it. And then we realised it was actually someone had got a lighter and burnt a hole in it, right? So it's just someone had walked past and thought that was funny. So we thought, oh man, who are we going to talk to? Whatever. We talked to Michael, and Michael was like, oh yeah, I've got some ideas about this, and maybe we'll look at it sometime. Anyway, I came back later that afternoon, and he goes, you know what, your dad was under the pump, and I've got time, and my thing can wait till tomorrow. I'll just get it done now. So he just fixed it. It's fixed. And so if you, men, don't just link with God, but link with other godly men. And young men, I want to say to you that we have some really awesome guys in our church, and most of you have awesome dads or granddads. That's cool, but we have this awesome resource here in our church of men. Go and have a chat to them. Don't just, on a Sunday, don't just stick to yourselves. Go and ask their story, and just even go and hang out with them sometime. I'm sure some of them would love to. And men, don't be afraid to go to them and go, hey, you want to hang out sometime? I'll take you out for whatever, and maybe take a couple of them out and just speak into their life and see what's going on in their life and share some stories, some war stories. Boys love the war stories. And show them some of your scars, right? Teach them how to grow a beard. Maybe you better teach me too. So make it a shared experience. We have this awesome resource of godly men, and so let's do this journey together. It makes it a lot easier. Yeah, so in battle and in team sports and all those sort of things, it's the team that wins, not the individual. You can have the best player ever, but it's the team that wins the game. And so let's do it as a team. I'm just going to pray, and then we're going to do something fun to finish with today. Lord, I just thank you for these awesome men and young men in our church. And Lord, I just pray that they would have a great week. And Lord, if they're going through some struggle today, I pray that as they reach out to you, that you would rescue them, you would answer them, and that you would honour them as they go through it. And I'm just thankful for their faithfulness, and I just pray that the fruits of the Spirit would grow as we grow with you. In Jesus' name, amen. Awesome. And I didn't quite get to it, but if you weren't picking up any of the young women in the place, thanks guys for doing that. Any of the young women. So if you need to find out if they're going to be a good man or not, put them under pressure, okay? Yeah. Just bring them to me and I'll help you, actually. Awesome. So Daniel, can you put up the slide for this? We are going to be doing a cool thing today. It's called Hot Topics, Hot Sauce. And I've selected 3 mighty men today to help me, because I don't want you to just hear from me today. I've just been talking about how we do this as a team. And so what's going to happen today is I'm going to call up 3 awesome men in our church, and they're of varying age, okay? So that we can get different perspectives of different ages. And what's going to happen is that I'm going to ask 5 questions, simply just ask 5 questions. But every time they answer a question, they have to eat a meat stick, bit of salami, with increasingly hot sauce on it. Okay? So don't panic if you're like, I hope he didn't ask me, or did I not get an email? The people really, and I've got them to sign a consent form. No. So, why don't we welcome Michael is our first guy. Why don't you give him a hand? Young Michael. Good. And we also have Paul. Paul's going to come up for us. And we needed someone to share some real wisdom, so we're going to get Ron up with us as well. Let's give Ron a hand. Ron's so excited about this. He even wore a white shirt, which was a bad idea. But he's dressed properly. At least you don't have a Pokemon in your shirt. So, I'm going to ask these guys some questions. These are your mics, guys. I think they should be on. We'll give them a test in a second. And we're going to ask these questions as we eat hotter and hotter sauce. Now, all these guys said that they're pretty good with it. I am not. But the deal is that it's not fair for me to make them do it, so I have to do it as I ask the questions. Okay? Now, I did have to test these sauces to figure out which ones were the hottest. And I'm not looking forward to the hottest one because it was an interesting experience. But anyway, we're going to do our best. So, you can just get this out of the foldbacks or whatever, mate, just to stop it from ringing. So, we're going to start with Michael. We'll just test your microphone out. Michael, can you just...
Hello.
Yep, good. Yep. So, can you just tell us, Michael, how many kids you've got? That'll be a good one. And their birth dates and their Medicare card number. No.
That's a lot of questions.
No, just how many kids you've got and their names.
I've got 2 kids, Jasmine and Nautilus.
Yeah, nice. So we picked Michael today because I wanted to have some different ages, and Michael's got 2 little ones, 2 beautiful, cute kids. And so Michael's going to speak from that perspective today. And Paul, can you tell us about your boys?
Sure. So my name's Paul. We have 3 boys, Matthew, Daniel and Ben. Matthew is almost 14, Daniel's 12 and Ben's 10 presently.
Nice. All right. And Ron, why don't you tell us about how many kids and grandkids and all that?
I'm not sure how many grandkids I've got. It's about a lot anyway. and great grandkids, but we've got 5 children. Our eldest boy is coming up 60. 50. No. 57, right. And we have a son, a daughter, and then another 2 sons, and then a daughter. So 3 sons and 2 daughters, yeah.
Very good. All right. So, boys, there's water here, and in case we need it, there's milk as well. All right. And we've got some. I'll actually get these out, so that, especially for Ron, so he doesn't get too much on his nice white shirt. Get some of these going. So I need to make. This is the main thing I need to make clear. Oh, Ron's getting the milk going already. All right. Probably a good idea.
I've been to India, so...
All right, he knows. These ones aren't stupidly hot. I'm not going to try and kill you. All right. So, this is the main thing you need to know, boys, all right? This is the main thing. Don't forget, we're going left to right.
Okay.
You don't want to go the other way, right? Because you'll be suffering for far too long, all right? So left to right. So we're going to ask the first question, but first you can eat the first one is, let's have a look. We're going to eat a Cholula hot sauce, the original, okay? So this one's just a little bit of niceness. You should be okay. Off you go. So left, yeah, good. Now, I've been told Michael's into the hot, so he's going to put me to shame. He's licking it up already.
Wow.
I'm going to leave that. I'm already suffering. All right. So, the first question is, we'll start with you, Michael, because you're not even flinching, is what is your favourite thing about being a father? Sorry.
Oh, good. Being a dad at the moment, the best fun's playing with the kids out in the yard or in the house, playing with toys and trying to build stuff and have Nautilus come over and knock it down again.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always say, if people say, we've got extra Lego, and I always say, yeah, we'll have that for the kids, but it's not quite like that, is it? I've been known to be at 1 a.m. in the morning still building the Lego for the kids. Awesome. Paul, what's your favourite thing about being a dad, mate?
Righto. I'm just starting to feel that in my throat now as well. But I think now I'm enjoying the age that the boys are at now. I think more so I found it harder when they were younger, when they're very little boys. And as a dad, I found it's difficult to do stuff because they're useless at that age. You can't do anything. It's good when they get a little bit more. Like, I mean, all you're doing is changing nappies and that. I don't mean that in a bad way. And now they're at an age where you can do fun stuff with them, not just changing nappies. So I love playing games with them. We have fun if we're outside playing basketball or kicking the ball out the back or doing the fun stuff with them now at an age and being able to have conversations with them now, I think is something that I'm enjoying more. They're all at a good age now where you can actually talk to them, reason with them, and see logic and understanding happening in them at this age.
Yeah, cool. And what about you, Ron? What's your favourite thing about being a dad, mate?
I think watching my children growing up,
Yeah.
and they're all grown up and married now, so they're all the way doing their own thing. And watching them grow up, and and as Paul said, when in their teen years, that was the best time. Yeah, just able to share stuff with them.
Yeah, that's great. Hear that, everybody? The best time to be a father is when you have teenagers. There you go.
Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of hard times in there too. But
No, that's all I heard. That's what I'm hoping for. All right. So, awesome. Well done, guys. Didn't even flinch. Next one is the sriracha. All right, good. Sriracha hot chili sauce. All right, here we go. It's got a chicken on it, a rooster or something. All right, here we go. So left.
can I wait until Michael's answered his, or unless you're doing a different
Yeah,
order?
no,
I want to feel the pain as I'm answering the question.
This one's probably the one that actually tastes like something, I reckon. All right. At the end, it doesn't taste like anything.
I think the first one was spicier.
You think the first one's spicier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael's not feeling it at all. I knew this would happen. All right. So what we're going to do next, Michael, we'll go with you first again. Do you have a special memory or something you love to do? I'll reverse it now. When you were a kid, something you remembered about your father?
Helping Dad out, building stuff. And
Yeah.
his dad was a carpenter, but he never actually did that as a job.
Yeah.
He worked in the bank. Anyway, so he'd do lots of projects around the house, like building verandas and sheds and all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, cool. Nice. Yeah, I find that. I think an important thing particularly with boys, but girls as well, is that it doesn't actually matter what you're doing. It's just that you're doing it with them, I reckon. My son just loves just helping mow the lawn or doing whatever, so that's awesome, man.
Right. Something I love doing, with Dad as a kid, is spending time with him, and it's something that I treasured because I knew it was difficult because he was always so busy, but it's a problem that I know I now have as well, and that I'm often so busy, and so getting the time is the hardest part. But there's some things that I remember doing with Dad, like he would love to, and I grew up in a house with a mum and 3 sisters, so sometimes Dad and I would have to leave the house. And, it's a bit warm. And then, but I remember we would do stuff. We would go out. He loved to sail and that. We'd like to do that. I'm hopeless at it, so I don't do that. But he would take us up onto the roof at night time, which was a bit of a fun adventure thing. And we were on a big Queenslander, so that was a bit dangerous. But it was safe where we did it. And I would love it because we would lay up on the roof at night time looking at the stars sometimes, and that was pretty cool. Yeah. I remember that. It was an odd memory that stands out, but enjoy doing that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, for me, growing up, my my memories of my dad weren't all that great. He was always very distant, and he was an alcoholic, so it was kind of pretty tough. But I didn't get close to Dad because we couldn't. But I remember it was I was about my 50th birthday. I visited my dad in hospital, and it was the first time I told him I loved him, and it was the first time that he said he loved me. So, and that was pretty special, you know. Yeah. And the good part about was that he came to the Lord on his deathbed, which was pretty amazing, you know.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So, next one. Left. This one's called, this is a local one, it's Australian, Byron Bay Chili Co. Habanero hot sauce. It's a mango and lemon.
That's a bonus one. It's very mild,
Is it?
Yep. That one's sweet, so that's good. I'm still struggling. So, speaking of this, what challenges have you had to face as a father, and do you have any tips on how to face them? Like, what worked for you? Any challenges that you've had?
It's pretty challenging to start with the newborn stage and the lack of sleep. There's not much of a cure for lack of sleep apart from sleep, which is hard to get.
I would ask you though, how do you? Because Michael always looks like this, right? He's always got a smile on his face, and he's always got a great attitude. So how do you do that when you're functioning on not much sleep and all the changing nappies and all that fun stuff? How do you keep that positive attitude? Have you got any tips for us? I need some.
I don't know, probably just knowing that God's always there.
Yep.
I don't know how he looks after so many kids. It's hard work with 2.
That's true. Very good. All right, what about... So, Paul's got almost 3 teenage sons. Have you had any challenges yet?
Yeah, we have. And I can just tell you, as this experience, I can feel my face is sweating now. And yes, so we've had challenges. I think from a dad perspective, sorry, as I lick my lips, I'm feeling it more. But yeah, challenges. I think from a dad is, am I doing a good enough job? Yeah. I think it's the mental challenge of it as well. It's probably that's a constant one. And because as much as you think you're doing the right thing, you hope you're doing the right thing, it's great when you get encouragement, but I still sometimes feel, am I doing a good enough job? I hope I am. And I think one of the things I forgot to mention before about my dad growing up, and it's something that I now remember that and now try and replicate myself, which I try to hopefully work into the kids, is so in the morning or in the evenings I'll try and do some sort of devotion with the kids and to try and share God through that. That was one thing that I saw, was my dad reading the Bible all the time. He would go into his office and read the Bible. And as a kid, I didn't sort of understand. I knew what he was doing, but as an adult now, I appreciate it so much more. I have a different understanding of it, and I hope that my kids seeing me do that will help them, and even things like, so we've gotten to a bit of a habit of, while we're having breakfast, I'll play The Word for Today has an audio version of it so the kids can hear it, and so then we can sort of talk a bit about it as well. And I think that helps, because there's a lot of challenges, and it's hard to know how to face them, and it's sort of one at a time is probably the main thing, and trying to think, what would Jesus do? Trying to, because it doesn't always happen, and I know there's times where I've done the wrong thing, but yeah, trying to has probably be the big thing of that for me. Yeah, cool. This is getting hotter too. So.
Ron, what were some of the challenges of being a father? Your kids are all grown up and married, and we count you as a successful father. So what are some of the tips you'd give us for some of the challenges you faced?
Well, I don't know if I was a successful father.
Yeah.
I think what Paul said, trying to do the very best you can.
Yeah.
But I think that role models are important, like you were speaking about this morning.
Yeah.
That everybody in the church has a responsibility to try and be a role model, not only to their family but to the people around and their friends, and just demonstrating that by having a consistent line in your witness before the Lord to other people, and maintaining that consistent service to God through the reading the Word and prayer and all that stuff, and demonstrating that to your kids, and then at some point they've got to decide whether they're going to follow on. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Ron. All right, so number 4. Here we go. Second last.
My mouth's hot, Dave, but my lips are on fire.
This one's going to get hotter. This one's called the Arizona Gunslinger. Smoking hot.
That's good.
This one, you can tell, it's changed colour.
Yes. It's darker in consistency, yes.
It's thick.
Yeah. It's a slow burn, that one. I'm gonna put a bit more on there. Pick it up. I'm gonna really feel it. Oh, wow.
I can't taste it yet.
You can't taste it yet?
My nose is going down too.
Paul said he was good at this stuff. He was up for it. Ron goes to India all the time, so he's fine. Yeah, it's funny. When I tasted it, I felt like that one was hot, but I felt like the Byron Way one snuck up on me then. Anyway. So what are some of the challenges that you think, so maybe just pick one each. What are some of the challenges you see, not just with your kids, but with young people in general? What are something that they've got to face now, and what can we do as parents and grandparents, do you think, to help our young people?
Yeah, probably trying to find a way to figure out everything that's going on in the world, and just all the bad stuff. Yeah. But what kids don't yet know is that it is bad. They haven't learnt what the bad things are and how to identify them. Yeah. And also how to process these things and deal with it. How should I react to this? And do I have friends who like this but probably shouldn't? Or
Awesome. So taking up that role, you think, of helping them identify what are the good and bad things type things.
Trying to just navigate those. And
that's cool, man. That's good.
I would think, similar vein, that mental challenges, mental health is probably going to be one of the biggest things that I see in through my role as a counsellor and as a dad. That's a lot of the problems that we're seeing with people suffering across the board. But yeah, and so I think in how to respond to that, because there's so many more, I think, mental challenges that kids will face these days than we did at our age and our parents did at their age. There's a lot more present dangers. There's, as you mentioned in your message about the world is changing negatively very fastly, and I think for us how we can help it is praying constantly as parents, grandparents, friends, family, to be constantly praying for the kids. And yeah, it's one of those things that, and we do it, but not as much as I think we should be doing it. And it's hard to do, but it's not hard to do, so it's actually very easy to do, but it's hard to get into the habit of doing and making yourself do it. Yeah. Oh.
Ron, what are you seeing some of the changes in our world and some of the things we can work on?
I think it was probably, in some ways, a lot easier when as a young person, you know, like growing up, when I was young, and Anna and I really pray for the generations now, because they're facing stuff that we never had to face. Yeah. It was a little bit simpler world for me growing up as a young fella. I mean, at 14 or 15, we're running around down the creek, sort of swimming and throwing rocks at each other and mucking around. But now, kids are growing up. They're sort of pressed into being almost an adult as children, you know. And so I think I agree with what Paul said, that we should pray a lot more for our children and for other children too, you know, and maintaining a consistent lifestyle so that they know that even when they stray, and some of our kids have strayed, but they've always known that there's an anchor there they can attach themselves to. And that passage in Hebrews where it says, this hope we have as an anchor for the soul. It's a very important scripture, because Anna and I know through the storms of life, we've got that anchor. No matter what, we're anchored to Jesus, and that's not going to stop. And so our kids see that, our children personally see that in our lives, that no matter what's going on, that we're there and we're the same. And so that's really important, to be consistent. And I say that being real, not perfect, not the model Christian, but being real to people, you know, and demonstrating Christ through your realness, you know, that's important. Yeah.
Cool. Nice segue, because the last one we're going to talk about is how, as a adult and as a parent, how can we reflect Christ to our kids? But before we do that, we've got to be under pressure here. So, last one. You can go for it, man. It's just there, the last one. This one is called Scorpion Strike Stupidly Hot Barbecue Sauce. This one was recommended by someone that's into hot sauce, and even they were like, not real keen. All right. All right. Gosh. All right. I'm just having ice cream for lunch. Yeah, when I tested this out with a little bit of it, I couldn't taste anything for the next day. So anyway. Okay. So, meanwhile, Michael's chill. All right. So, how can we best reflect Christ to our kids?
It's really hot.
You want some milk, man?
Oh, wow. Hang on. You go, Michael. You go.
Probably being there with your kids.
Why don't I just put more on?
You like it. Yeah, probably being there for your kids, like with prayer and like Bible study, and obviously not now; they're too little to figure that out. But yeah, definitely sort of teenage years. Sort of. Just,
I think though, just being there, like we talked this morning about how God can get you out of trouble, which Paul might need in a second. Yeah, just being that consistent and that faithfulness is really important, I think. So I think just being there and being consistent, I think, that's definitely reflecting Christ, because he's always consistent and he doesn't change. So that's awesome. All right, Paul.
I wiped my nose with the same tissue. It's everywhere. I don't even remember what you asked. Sorry, Dave.
How can we best reflect Christ to our kids? Yeah, my teeth hurt. But anyhow.
Okay. I've got a new tissue. Oh no, it's just running. I think. Similar, I think, to what I said in the last answer. Oh wow. About letting them see you do things like reading the Bible. Was that the question?
Yeah. Yeah, how you reflect Christ.
Sorry, yes. Letting them see you read the Bible and having it as a constant conversation. And, yeah, to always let them know that they can talk to you openly. And, yeah, just to... it's hard. My nose is what's hard. I know what I want to say, I just can't get it.
Yeah. So
yes.
Being in demonstration daily, sort of. That's what you mean, yeah?
Yeah. What Dave said. No. Letting them see God in you. That was the question. No. To read your Bible, pray, and let them see that. And
Jesus is always the right answer, Paul.
That's right, yeah. Jesus. I'll refer to Ron. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though. Like, I purposely stopped doing, like, we went through a phase where I stopped doing my Bible reading in my personal space or whatever and started doing it. So it's
where they can see you.
Make everything that you do visual,
yeah,
so that they can learn. So, yeah, that's
absolutely.
Good. Ron, how can we best reflect Christ, mate?
I think just by being consistent, just living for God day in, day out, and all of our, like I said, all of our kids know that what our standard is, and we live it out to the best of our ability. But yeah. Yeah, and I think that being consistent, and I think then your kids know that what the life you're living works. Yeah. They want to see it lived out in reality. Yeah. It's not a theory, but it's a lifestyle, you know. Yeah. And in fact, my son this morning came to wish me Happy Father's Day, and he said, "You're still my hero, Dad." And that means a lot, you know, because not because it's anything special, but because what he's saying was, you're not changing with your witness. That you and Mum are the same year in, year out. Yeah. So that's yeah.
That's awesome. Very good. All right. Why don't we all give him a clap for the...
It's my lips.
Thank you, everybody, for listening today. what we've done today is there's a sausage sizzle already cooked out the back, so we'll be serving that up at the back, and there'll also be some people giving out some special things as well to the fathers, and the kids have some ice blocks down the back and that sort of stuff, so they're sorted down there. But yeah, you need a Zupa Duper. So yeah, make sure you catch up with somebody and encourage them today. And thanks for coming, and have a great week.
I thought we get paid for doing it. Oh well.
You can have a Tim Tam, Ron.
You can have some sauce.
We did that for free.